You will know it is my goal in life not to leave any chocolate chip cookie recipe unturned. So today it's time for the Levain chocolate chip cookie test. Now here's where I tell you I actually have never had a Levain chocolate chip cookie in my whole life. I've never been to the Levain bakery. I actually was tempted to order some online just for a point of comparison, but that was way too much work. So I've always wanted to make them at home. So they're intriguing to me. Thanks to two of my blogging friends who don't know that I'm calling them out on this video, but I am. Sai from A Bountiful Kitchen and Melissa from Modern Honey. They have both posted knockoff recipes, copycat recipes for the Levain famed chocolate chip cookie. Both of these recipes have tons of really good reviews, and both Sai and Melissa go into a ton of detail on their blog post about the method behind the madness. I just took both of their recipes. They're pretty similar. There's like a few minor differences. I've kind of smashed them together in my brain, and we're gonna make them. Okay, so this recipe calls for cold butter straight out of the fridge, which is amazing. You don't have to worry about softening the butter. I'm using salted butter because that's how I roll. I'm gonna toss it in my mixer. Using my KitchenAid mixer, I feel a little bit like I'm cheating on my Bosch. I felt like the KitchenAid was the right way to go today. So I've put the cold butter in the mixer, and I'm going to add a cup of brown sugar and a half a cup of granulated sugar, and we're gonna mix that. So 2 eggs, and we're gonna mix that up until it's well combined. Okay, so this recipe calls for cake flour as well as all-purpose flour. After doing a full-on search in my pantry, I don't have any cake flour like I thought I did. So I'm gonna go the nerdy route and hurry and make my own cake flour with some cornstarch and flour because I really wanna give these cookies a chance. Like made the real way instead of doing like the typical like Mel substituting everything. So I'm gonna make some cake flour. Feel free to roll your eyes at me. I'm sure you'd be fine throwing in all-purpose flour instead of the cake flour, but we gotta know, right? Me out just a little bit with these recipes is there's no weight measures. So I feel like if you have a weight measure, you're not gonna go wrong, but everybody measures flour just a little bit differently. So I've decided I'm gonna use 6.5 ounces of cake flour. Adding that, and then we're going to add 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, 7.5 ounces. So a teaspoon of baking powder, a teaspoon of soda, and do about a half a teaspoon salt. My butter's salted, so I'm gonna dial back on the salt just a little bit. Mix it up. I just reread the recipe and realized that there are walnuts in this cookie, and I don't have walnuts. I only have pecans. I'm not really a fan of nuts in my cookie anyway. I could leave them out. I know that would be a travesty because I know that's like a signature part of the Levain cookie, but I don't have walnuts. I'm not going to the store. I'm really sorry, Sai and Melissa, but pecans are basically like walnuts anyway, right? I'm gonna add the pecans and the chocolate chips to the mixer. Okay, so here's our dough. I got in there with my hands a little bit to get it even more mixed up so that the mixer didn't overmix the batter. And I'm about to portion it out into big, huge cookies. I'm gonna measure out 6 ounces of cookie dough per cookie. That is 1 cookie. 6 ounces. Certainly these cookies are meant to be shared, unless you happen to be home alone all day with no children around because they're all in school and your husband's at work. This could be a problem. So I've made 8 cookies and I still have a little cookie dough in there. The internal debate is, do I portion this cookie dough out to all the cookies or, you know, just like take care of it later? I think I'll be a good girl and I'll just make my cookies extra big, probably 6.25 ounces. That's how we do things in Idaho. Take that, Levain. Just gonna at least get them into a circle. So I'm just gonna get out a second cookie sheet, pop the first one in the oven for 11 minutes. Take it out, see what we've got. So here they are, out of the oven, 11 minutes on the dot. This cookie sheet's getting kind of heavy. peeked halfway through and thought there is no way they're gonna get golden brown on top because they were still super doughy, but they did. They look like Melissa and Si's cookies. I'm certain they're a doughy mess on the inside, but apparently that's how they're supposed to be, a little bit doughy in there. So I'm gonna let them hang out on the baking sheet and cool for a little bit, and then we'll dig in. And I mean, by we, I mean me, because like you're not here, and someone's gotta try them, right? So I'll keep you posted. Okay, it's time. Look at this thing. I'm just gonna crack this baby open. Okay. Wow. It's not legit unless you stack them like this on top of each other and take a selfie. I don't really know what to say. It is a little doughy in the center. Let's taste it. I mean, there's no way I would feel good about myself if I ate this whole cookie. Just have a little taste. It's really good. I'm a fan of all things cookie dough, so the doughiness in the center is like crazy good. That's good, you guys. Just me over here hanging out with 7.5 enormous Levain cookies. I think I need some milk. So let's talk about the nuts. I was hesitant about the nuts. I feel like in the cookies, the nuts, they're like the voice of reason amid a lot of like sweet chaos. I still don't like nuts in my cookies. I'm clearly not having a problem continuing to eat this, but certainly if I make these again, I will try them without nuts just to see. Overall, I'm actually really pleasantly surprised with how these turned out. These are definitely one of those things for like a super wow factor, using each one as like a statement, like, here you go, here's a 6-pound cookie. They're delicious. The texture is super fun. Yeah, I think there's a time and a place for Levain cookies. And honestly, even though I haven't had the real thing, these are tasty enough that like, who needs the real thing? Fast forward like 6 hours since I made these cookies. I cut the leftover cookies into quarters and I put them in this bag. And you can see how that doughy factor has kind of solidified into this like cookie dough buttery goodness. They're delicious. Like, I can't stop eating little triangles. And when they're cut into triangles, it feels like you can eat more of them. But they're so good. I love these cookies. I'm a big fan. Anyway, I think if you've been on the fence about whether to make the Levain cookies, like, you should do it. And I thought they were delicious, warm and gooey, but I think they're even better once they've cooled and set up a little bit. Yum.